am Alexander B. Stevens. This is the brand new up-and-coming podcast entitled, What Is He Thinking? The sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes politically incorrect, but always sincere and truthful podcast for the benefit of women from the perspective of men. You've got questions? I've got answers. I'd like to welcome you to the podcast that doesn't perpetrate a fraud or tell you comforting lies, but instead tells you constructive and productive truths for the benefit of your love life. The sound of the voice you are hearing is that of Alexander B. Stevens. This is the What Is He Thinking podcast, and I would like to welcome you to the final episode of the marriage series and episode number 21 overall of the podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the top reasons men get married. What are the top reasons that men do get married? We started off the marriage series in episode number 14 with why men are reluctant to marry. We transitioned in episodes 15 and 16 to talking to a married female friend of mine about her perspective on dating, relationships, and marriage. Then in the following 4 episodes, we talked of 2 different foursomes of married men about their perspectives, opinions, and advice in regards to dating, relationships, and marriage. And we're going to close things out today here in episode number 21 with the reasons why men do get married. Now, the reasons that I'm about to go into are in no particular order because for each individual man, the hierarchy of reasons that I'm about to describe could be and probably are different and unique to that individual. Lastly, the reasons that I'm about to give are anecdotal in nature. I gathered them from eyewitness accounts, hearsay, and my own intellect and opinions. I did not survey 1,000 people to get this list that I'm about to present to you. That being said, I'm pretty sure that if you took a poll or a survey of the closest 10 men in your life, friends, family, things of that nature, they pretty much would echo many of the same things that I'm about to tell you this episode. Enough with the disclaimers and the pleasantries. Let's get into it. The first reason I'm going to talk about today as to why men marry is that they marry for romantic love and romantic companionship. They marry for love and companionship. There are some men out there that really view marriage the same way many women do. They view it from an emotional lens. They view it from a perspective that marriage is the ultimate apex of expressing your love toward one another. The highest level of emotional monogamous commitment. It's the strongest connection and the highest title, highest level, highest honor that you can give somebody you're madly in love with. So they daydream about the day that they could find the woman who is worthy of receiving that title and joining lives with, sharing your love with the world. When they find that person and fall head over heels, it's just a matter of time, 24 months or less, and they will be walking down the aisle. Not all men are rational robots. Some really do live life through their feelings, make decisions based off emotional connections, and some really do believe in the Disney fairy tale, the Disney Hallmark rom-com essence of love. That being said, I must be honest. In my opinion, most men, reason number 1 isn't reason enough to get married. For most men, there must be some practical, rational reason that also supports him marrying a young lady. On paper, it must look right. Not only that, but for most men, there must also be a third reason supporting the decision of marrying a woman. What reason is that, you might ask? Well, continue to listen to the podcast. It's typically going to be at least one of the following reasons that I'm going to go over today in this episode. The next reason why men get married in 2021 is external pressure. Who applies this pressure? Well, it could be coming from his significant other. It could be coming from his friends and family, or it could be coming from the religious faith that he believes in and holds dear to. Let's start off with pressure coming from his significant other. Men, we dream about being with our dream girl, the girl that's for us. We dream about being together with her. We don't necessarily always dream about a wedding, nor do we necessarily always dream about being married to her. As long as we are together with her and she's the girl of our dreams, the girl that we desire, the girl that checks the most boxes out of all the girls we've met, we're happy. But being together isn't enough for many women. Many women dream of their wedding day. Many women want to be married. So if a man who is perfectly happy with a woman and he's with her for 5, 6, 7, 10 years, as time goes on, many women are going to indirectly and then eventually directly and overtly going to start applying pressure to him, tightening the screws on him in order to get him to drop to one knee and present her with a ring of significant carriage and get married. Some women might nag. Other women might present an ultimatum, but regardless of the technique, many women, after 5 years together with a man, are going to start really pushing for marriage. He loves his woman. He really likes the situation that they have together. He might even love the projections of their future together. He doesn't want to see her unhappy, so eventually he will succumb to this pressure and give her what she wants, even though in his own mind he could take it or leave it, as long as they're together. Next, let's talk about pressure from friends and family. If this individual man has mostly married friends, then of course they're gonna push for marriage indirectly or directly. Partially because their wives would be more comfortable with their husbands hanging out with another married man as opposed to a single man who could be a bad influence on him. But also, birds of a feather like to flock together. If one of his friends is a part of the group of married individuals, if they're in that club, then his married friend is going to want him to join the same group that he is a part of, so they can have more shared experiences together and be able to relate on a different level. Let's transition to family pressure. Every parent has dreams of when they can become a grandparent. And if things are done in order, which is how they dream things of being done, then their kid must get married before he has kids and gives them legitimate grandchildren. So in a parent's rush to join the next stage of their life and be able to enjoy grandkids, once they see a decent prospect that one of their kids can marry, they're going to want to apply a little pressure to go on ahead and make sure that that marriage happens sooner rather than later. Siblings. If a sibling has seen you bring different individuals in and out of their lives that they view as trash, and then they finally meet somebody that they like, and they can see themselves being a sister or brother-in-law to this individual, then they're surely going to want to make sure that this individual that you brought into their life stays in their life because they like them so much. So they want you to go ahead and tie the knot and make things official and as permanent as we can make it in our current culture. Now let's talk about pressure from one's religious faith. If he is a part of either of the major 3 religions that are present in Western civilized cultures, Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, then to oversimplify things, basically, if he has any type of sexual urges at all, then he cannot be a faithful, good Christian or good Jew or good Muslim and be living his life in accordance to God's will if he remains an unmarried adult for an extended period of time. Because eventually his natural urges and natural biological responses to the opposite sex are going to cause him to get out here in these streets, as the youngsters say, and run amok, act a fool, lust, fornicate, and commit sins of the flesh, all of which are displeasing to God and are distractions away from him focusing on wholesome things and strengthening his faith. If you spend your life chasing tail, then odds are you will be going to yeah, I'm gonna let you finish that one without me. Anyway, enough about pressure. Let's move on to the next reason. Now, let's take a minute to hear from our sponsor, Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First off, it's free. Secondly, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Third, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Next, hey, you can even make money from your podcast with minimal listenership. I mean, it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So this is what I want you to do. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. The third reason why men marry is because they are tired of the chase. They are tired of being out here in these streets, wild and unsettled. They're tired of the chase. They're tired of the hunt. They're tired of hunting. They're tired of being wild out here in these streets. Some men, I would say a minority of the male population, I would guess 30 to 40% of men, eventually get good dealing with women, get good at dating, get good at achieving their goal of getting a woman's attention or getting gratification from her, if you know what I mean. And they really enjoy their newfound superpowers. When they were in middle school, they were shy and nervous and couldn't get a girl to look at them. And now they know exactly what to do and exactly what to say to get exactly what they want. This sector of men really get a kick. They really get a rush from this new ability that they have worked hard to cultivate and develop. So what do? They go crazy. They approach as many women as they can. Any woman who's halfway cute to them, they shoot their shot. They're over here. They're over there. They're in this city. They're in that city. They're online dating. They're in singles groups. They're using all avenues in order to expose themselves to as many women as possible to increase their chances of having as many fun nights as possible. They get a thrill, a rush, a kick out of it. It's kind of addicting. It's an addiction. They can't get enough. They can't stop until it gets old. It gets old being with somebody different every week or every month. It gets old spending money for first dates and second dates and third dates on women that have no real meaning in your life and won't be around next year. It gets old traveling to this city and to that city running amok. It gets old having emotionless, meaningless fornication. It just starts getting old. The club isn't as fun anymore. The bar isn't as fun anymore. Your friends don't really want to go out with you like they did back when you were 22, back when you were 26. They don't want to be your wingman anymore. Everything starts to get stale, tired, and old. So then a man sometime in his mid-30s, or even 50 for some guys, sometime in that 35 to 45 age range, a man looks at himself and is like, what am I doing? What have I accomplished? How long can I keep living Groundhog Day every week or every month with another woman? The next solid girl that I come across, I'm really going to give my all and really try to make it work. And if there's a 55% chance that I think it'll work, then I'm just going to push all my chips to the center, settle down, marry her, and try to live a different type of life. Because I'm tired of this life that I've been living the last 10, 15, 25 years. So ladies, this is why when you had that short, steamy, but hot relationship with that one guy who you really wanted to work out with, but then it seems like he gets married 2 years later to the next girl he meets, this is why. Because that interaction with you was probably the last straw and gave him an epiphany that he no longer wanted to be a player, no longer wanted to play around, and he wanted to settle down. He wants to settle down with somebody he has a real connection to, but it's not just about that connection. It's about stability. It's about fiscal responsibility. It's about being productive and productivity. And it's really just about living a different type of life. He's done all he feels like he needs to do in the wild bachelor life. Now it's time to turn the page to the next chapter of life. Chasing after women is expensive. Being with a different girl every month, or every 3 months, or juggling 3 girls at once is very time consuming. It can take away from his productivity at the job, takes away from his hobbies that he does outside of the job. It can take away from his side hustles. It can take away from him developing as a man, learning things on the side, educating himself. It basically takes away from his ability to be all that he can be, because juggling women, chasing after women takes a lot of time, energy, money, and effort. So if he can just focus on one woman, lock her down, then he could free himself up and his resources up to be all he can be and to be the man that he has always dreamed of. You guys can look this up if you don't believe me, but the most productive men in their career fields are married. Men who get hired at the best jobs, men who get the elite level promotions, typically are married men, because companies and married senior level employees at a company trust a married person over a single person. It's a different level of respect. Furthermore, not only do they trust them more, but they anticipate and assume that that individual will be more stable and more serious. So they're willing to give that person a boost in pay and responsibilities, because they don't think that that person is going to run off in 6 months and move to the other side of the country at a whim, like he more easily could do if he was an unmarried, childless bachelor. The most healthy men physically, once a man is middle-aged or beyond, are married. Men who live the longest lifespans are married or spent the majority of their adulthood married. The most financially successful men who have time and energy and focus on investing and second jobs and side hustles and savings and things of that nature, these men 90% of the time are married, etc., etc. I think I have made my point. Men get married because they're tired of chasing women. They're tired of the streets. They're tired of not really having any woman they can depend on. And they're tired of not being able to focus on themselves so they can be the best man that they can be. Now let's move on to reason number 4. Reason number 4 why men marry is that they never like the dating game. They never like the quote unquote streets in the first place. Reason number 4 that men marry is that they aren't good with women. They never enjoyed dating at any stage in their life. They never enjoyed running wild in the streets and being a bachelor at any period in their life, like that other 40% of men that I just spoke of. These men marry, settle down, and get out the game as soon as they have an opportunity, because they have no interest and never had any interest in the game. They hate it. In my opinion, the majority of men are not good with women. To them, interacting with women is stressful, difficult, doesn't come easy, and makes them feel inadequate and insecure inside. Most men don't know what to do or don't know how to get better when it comes to dealing with women. Why? Well, 1, because many men grow up without a father or a father figure in their life. 2, because there really isn't any book or any program that can really teach them how to effectively interact with women. And some men like to learn before they do, and they don't want to learn through trial and error. 3, what women want and expect out of a man is more complicated and convoluted in 2021 than it's ever been before. Like I described in podcast episode number 4, the biggest issue that men have with the dating world today. Once upon a time, there was kind of a step-by-step formula that a man would go through if he liked the girl and wanted to court her. And there'll be roles that he knew that he had to fill, and then he could expect in return her to fill certain roles later if they so happen to get married. Now, every woman is truly unique and different, and they all want different amounts of chivalry and egalitarianism and aggression and sensitivity and intellect and emotion, and it's a little bit more complicated nowadays than it was for grandpa and great-granddad. Furthermore, the media and music really doesn't help these men that are looking for a clue, because they deliver messages to them that really are not helpful or accurate in regards to what they need to do to increase their chances of being more successful in the dating world. So these men are frustrated. They don't know what to do. They're insecure about it. They're pissed and put off by dating in general. So if they do accidentally stumble into a woman that likes them and a woman that shows them some sort of attention and treats them halfway decently, then their nose is wide open. Their pupils are dilated, their heart's racing, they're all in. They are eager to lock things down with this one woman because they don't know if this will ever happen to them again, and they're just uncomfortable being single in the first place. So here's an opportunity for me to be unsingle. I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity. Here's one thing that many women fail to acknowledge or realize. The majority of men are invisible to you. You don't even see them. The majority of men are being ignored by women, getting very little attention from women, getting very sparse, if any, bedroom action from women. If I had to guess, the demographics break down this way. About 10% of men are just naturals with women. They have the gift of gab. And if they don't have the gift of gab, they've been blessed with a elite physique. They've been blessed with 6'2", 6'4" inch height. So women just are naturally attracted to them, just naturally more feminine, cooperative, forgiving, and optimistic around them, and just naturally drawn to them. Then there's about 30% of men who have to build themselves up. They learn the gift of gab. They learn strategies and techniques for dating. They learned how to be a more attractive man through trial and error. They had to hit the gym extra hard because they're not 6'4", they're only 5'9", so that means they got to have an 8-pack in order to compete with Mr. 6'4". They had to focus on their careers and build their money up because they don't naturally have the gift of gab or the 5-star looks, so they got to make sure their career and their accomplishments are on that elite level. These are men that have to build themselves up in order to have women pay attention to them and in order for their love life to be more fulfilling and enjoyable. So these are the men that probably didn't have any girls in high school, maybe not in college, but by the time they are 30 or 35, they have their pick of the litter. So that is the last 30% of that initial 40% that I spoke of in my previous reason why men married. So what about the remaining 60%? They are the invisible ones. They are the ones that are ignored. These are the men that are awkward around women, never learned how to communicate with women effectively or fluently. These are the men that might be outstanding human beings, but are too shy to stick their neck out there and learn by trial and error how to be successful in the dating world. They're the ones that get no play. They're the ones that you don't like. In general, when women talk about men, they pretty much are only talking about that top 10 to 20%, maybe the top 40%, but they're definitely not talking about the majority of men. Because the majority of men, they don't see, they don't acknowledge, they aren't attracted to, and they don't consider the actions, thoughts, hopes, or feelings of. The last thing I'll say on this topic, if you don't believe me that the majority of men are ignored in the dating world, I'll just leave you with this. There are different articles and different studies that would indicate that approximately 40 to 50% of men who have ever lived have reproduced, while the number of women who have reproduced is closer to 80 or 90%. So there are twice as many mothers than fathers in the history of the world. There are twice as many women that can find a man to deal with than there are men that can find a woman to deal with. What does that mean? Especially since the percentage of population is basically 50.01 women and 49.99 men. That means women are, for lack of a better term, sharing men. The same man gets to impregnate 2 women. The same small percentage is getting attention from multiple women, while there is a percentage of men getting attention from no woman. Don't believe me? You can look up current day statistics on single mothers. There is always, no matter what demographic or race you look at, more single mothers who are unmarried than single fathers who are unmarried. The only way that's possible is if they are sleeping with the same men, if they're focused on the same small population of men while ignoring the others. So because of this, many men are frustrated and they don't enjoy dating or being single. So the first halfway decent relationship they stumble into, they're going to try to rush to the altar. And now the last, and in my opinion, most important reason that men marry is for legacy. Men marry because they want their own legacy, as in they want a family, as in they want kids. Men marry because they are ready or they want to have kids. Not only do they want to have kids, but they want to have kids inside of a stable home, in a stable environment that they are present and a part of in order to give their kids the best chance at success. Men marry because they want to be in the household under the same roof as their kids, as their legacy, so they can discipline, guide, lead, and mold them and have maximum impact and influence on their life. Men who don't want to have kids, typically, if they're not religious, do not want to get married at all, period. But men who do want to have kids, they don't want to be a weekend dad. They don't want to be a see you on the holidays dad. They don't want to pay child support and have some other man raise their kid. They don't want to impregnate a girl because she's hot when she's also a hot mess. They don't want that to be the mother of their kid. They care about their legacy. They care about their kids too much to do that to them. So what do? They try to line everything up as well as they can in order to bring their kids into a stable, loving, healthy environment that has both the feminine and the masculine, the yin and the yang, under the same roof, so their kids have the best chance at being all they can be. When a man's ready to be a family man, when a man is ready to have his own kingdom, his own castle, ready to have a son that can carry on his name, when a man is ready to leave an imprint on this earth, on this world, when a man is ready to leave his legacy, he will find the best woman he can find. He can gain the favor of, he will settle down with her, and he will marry her. Now, men were simple creatures. If it was just us and we did not have to worry about dating and relationships and reproducing, then many of us could live on $15, $20 an hour. We don't need much. We just want to watch the game, eat good, and hang out with our buddies. What motivates us to create, build, innovate, and strive for greatness partially is our competitive nature with other men in order to gain the favor and the attention of the highest quality females of the area. But not only that, but our motivation to strive and achieve is to provide for our seed, provide for our family, protect and do all we can for our family. That gives us motivation to slay dragons and climb mountains. So without the family, eventually we lose motivation. We get complacent and somewhat self-destructive. With a family, wife and kids, we can stay focused and we can be all that we can be. So kids serve as motivation for men, motivation for us to take care of business and do what we need to be doing. Women serve as motivation for men. What's the ultimate motivation for a man? Is his wife and his kids and his legacy and reputation that will be left behind for the world to examine after he is dead and gone. So it's the combination of all of the previously mentioned things that basically give men the fuel to be men. It basically makes men men, for lack of a better phrase. So why do men marry? Men marry because they want to leave an imprint on this earth, aka a legacy, aka his kids. And they are eager for that motivation that'll push them to the limit of being the best man that they can be. That's why men marry. He may not have control at his job. He might not have liked the way his childhood was. He might not have liked the way the government is or society is. But he can have a firm impact on his own household. He can direct that ship. He can ensure that things are right in his own home, inside his own four walls. So because of this, men marry, settle down, and have kids. Without legacy, what's the point? Without your own castle, without somewhere where you think you can make things right, without somewhere and some people that you think you can help make the world better, then what really is the purpose of life? Some men think. Why do men marry? Men marry because they're ready to have kids, ready to settle down. They marry to give their legacy the best chance of being as impactful and positive as possible. Now, I will finish on this note. I don't want to go on a tangent and get too far off the subject because during season 2 of the podcast, we're going to examine the issues I'm about to bring up with a fine-tooth comb. But I'll just say this. There is a reason that women who can't have kids, don't want to have kids, or already have kids and don't really want to have any more, have difficulty finding men who want to marry them or are willing to be in a long-term serious relationship with them. Why? Because these are women who can't, won't, or it'll be very difficult to have kids with, build your own family with, and create your own legacy with. A woman who can't have kids, you can't have a son, you can't have your legacy, your name dies with you. A woman who won't have kids, what's the point of us getting married? We could just stay in a relationship, or we could stay in an open relationship. Why get married if we're not trying to build a home for a family, is the way that most men think. And a single mother who already has kids, especially if she has more than one, then she has created an environment so that there'll be a financial strain on the family if he's to have the 2, 3, or 4 kids that he wants, because she already has 2 or 3 of her own. And it's completely unreasonable to have a normal average salary and 7 kids under the same roof. So he's going to have to sacrifice his lifelong dreams and goals. He had to sacrifice his legacy because of her checkered past with previous men who she did not end up staying with. How's that fair to him? So that's why many guys are kind of reluctant to settle down with single mothers, unless they're single fathers themselves and they don't really care about having too many kids within the confines of the new relationship. Word to the wise to my ladies listening. If you don't want to have kids, if you can't have kids, or if you're done having kids because you've already had a couple, then the odds of you getting married are significantly slimmer than they would be if you were willing or able to have bare minimum 2 kids like most serious marriage-minded men want. So what's the final most important reason why men marry? Men marry so they can have kids all under the same roof in a stable, sound household and environment so they can have as much positive impact over them as possible. So there you have it, the top 5 reasons why men marry. That list once again is men marry for romantic love, men marry due to external pressure, whether that pressure is from you, his religious organization, his family, or his friends. Men marry because they are tired of dating around, tired of being a bachelor, they're tired of the game. Men marry because they never liked dating and never were good at it to begin with. They never really were a part of the game. They never really mastered dating and getting women. So their first opportunity to check out, they will. And the most important reason for most men why they get married is they're ready to build a family, have kids, and leave a legacy. They're ready to create a family and leave a legacy. And lastly, before I go, one last bit of knowledge. The reasons that I just gave and pretty much everything I've said in this podcast does not matter unless a man knows himself, is happy with himself, and is happy with his financial status in life. If a man is not happy with his career, if a man's not happy with his bank account, if he doesn't know himself, or if he's not happy with himself, then nothing else matters. It doesn't matter how many reasons he has to marry you. It doesn't matter how great a woman you are. It doesn't matter how much he wants to be married and be a father. If he doesn't think he can be the man that he wants to be within a marriage, if he doesn't think he can be the father that he wants to be after he gets married, then he's still going to avoid marriage until he can convince himself that he's ready. Please always keep that in mind. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed the marriage series. Hopefully everyone learned something today. If you have any other questions about marriage, about why men marry, why men are hesitant to marry, or anything of that sort, you guys know what to do. Contact me at my email. Until next time. All right, that should just about wrap things up. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to what I have to say. And if you found any part of this episode helpful, thought-provoking, or intriguing, please share it with a friend. The more people I can help, the better I feel within. If you have any questions, any suggestions for new topics for me to discuss in the future, or if you need any clarification on anything I have spoken on, please just shoot me an email at whatishethinking@gmail.com. whatishethinking@gmail.com. Or you can send me a message via my Anchor website. All you need to do is go to anchor.fm/whatishethinking/message. anchor.fm/whatishethinking/message. Go there, leave me a couple words, and if it's constructive, I will definitely get back to you or keep your thoughts in mind when I record future podcasts. And never forget, I'm not here to tickle your ear. My only goal is to tell you what you need to know. I'm not here to offend. I just want to see you win with men. Well, until we meet again,